Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side. Whereas we heard this morning from the Gospel of Matthew chapter 14, verse 22. Today's Gospel talks about the experience the disciples of Jesus had with the storm on their journey, and how Jesus intervened and saved them. Indeed, there are a lot we can take from this story to enrich our Christian life and journey. But for today, may we just concentrate on one aspect of the story. To begin, we must remember that this encounter, the encounter with the storm, happened immediately after the feeding of 5,000 men by Jesus with 5 loaves and 2 fish, as we read last week. So after that enjoyment, after that lunch or dinner, as the case may be, Jesus intentionally sent his disciples to the other side. Now, the expression the other side, on a literal level, would mean that Jesus simply instructed them to move from one geographical location to the other. Perhaps, for example, to move from one side of Slough to the other side. But in the scripture, crossing over or moving to the other side symbolizes a transition into a new experience, into a new encounter, into a new phase of life. Therefore, the expression to move to the other side, as used in today's reading, means to experience the other side of life. Now you can imagine the happiness and the satisfaction the apostles of Jesus Christ must have felt after that wonderful meal. And still within that excitement and joy, Jesus intentionally sent them to the other side, where they were confronted, where they encountered difficulties, where they encountered storms, where they were so frightened that they couldn't even recognize, out of fear, they couldn't even recognize Jesus, who was walking towards them on the water. Perhaps they were feeling, oh, life is now full of abundance. They were still in the euphoria of that meal, and Jesus wanted to teach them, this is not just how life is. There is the other side. It is usually said that life is a journey from one point to the other. And sometimes we stand on the shore of joy. Everything seems to be working so well for us. Good health, success, decent accommodation, peace at home, loving relationship, everything seems okay. These moments we believe that life is so promising. This time we believe that the waters are calm and still. The disciples of Jesus had the same experience when they were so fed by Jesus that they had up to 12 baskets left over. For them at that moment, wow, life is so good. But the irony is that nobody stays permanently on the sunny side of life, because there is always the other side. The other side when we encounter difficulties, when we are challenged by storms. The other side when we have bereavements, failure, illness, fear, uncertainty. And the confusing thing is that these storms of life, these difficulties, sometimes they are unforeseen. There are no signs they are forthcoming. We don't even see them coming. No signs. And nothing prepares you for it. Everything seems okay. You are already cruising on the high altitude of life. All of a sudden, there is a storm. It could come as a medical diagnosis. We didn't see it coming. It could come as a redundancy in your work. We didn't see it coming. It could come as a sudden disruption in your family peace or sudden end or breakup in your relationship. You didn't see it coming. Just like the disciples. I want to believe that while they were in that boat moving, they were commemorating, reminiscing about the meal they had. When out of nowhere they encountered storm, unprepared. Life, it said also, is not a bed of roses. Those who only expect pleasant experiences in life will always feel disappointed and discouraged when storms arise, when difficulties arise. But those who understand that there is always the other side of it, we always feel better prepared to persevere and to manage the storms. So, dear friends, at different points in this journey called life, at different moments of our life, we will always cross over to the other side. We will always experience the other side. Yes, there is always the other side of retirement after years of hard work. There is always the other side of loneliness when your lifelong partner dies. There is always the other side of old age. I know you don't want to hear it. There is always the other side of old age. After years of youthfulness, there is always the other side. The Lord who intentionally sent his disciples to the other side was also there at that very moment they were battling the storms. And that is why he says to us, do not be afraid of the other side, because my presence is always constant. I am the Lord of still waters and the Lord of stormy waters. Sometimes, dear friends, just like in the case of disciples, we are taken to the other side, not out of our own making, not out of our own choices. Nature can take us to the other side of life. The Lord himself also can take us to the other side, just as he did in the case of the disciples. But the good news is that he doesn't allow us to be overwhelmed by the circumstances in the other side, He's always there. He never takes his eyes off us. And that was why even when he sent his disciples to the other side and stayed behind, he was still watching them. And so immediately they encountered storms, he was there immediately. The Lord can always show up, even at the heart of the night. So, whether you are at the present, in the midst of your own storms, let us together ask the Lord to open our eyes that we may discover his presence in the midst of our stormy situations. Unlike the apostles who were so overwhelmed by the storms they encountered, that they couldn't even recognize that it was Jesus who was coming towards them on the water. They thought it was a ghost because of the situation they were into. They couldn't recognize his presence. May we ask him also to teach us how to cry, just as Peter did, Lord, save me. And then he stretched out his hands and saved him. Because no matter how strong the winds or the waves or the storms are, no storm is greater than the presence of God. No matter how you think the storms, how powerful you think the storms are, none of those storms is more powerful than the power of God. Life will always make us in one way or the other to experience the other side. And there is always the other side.